good evening. This is Hannah Klein. Welcome to Hannah Klein's Time. It's been like about a month since I started my podcast, and I I actually enjoy this very much more than when I write something, but I really like to express something in many ways. I used to like it, and I started to remember, how I spoke or what changed, over the time, because it's been like more than 3 decades since I was speaking in front of people. So um well, yeah, less than 3 decades, I have to say. Well, actually, I see Erin Mullen. She is a very shiny, Australian woman, courageous. um I really like her a lot. Like her posts a lot. Also, I agree with her opinion very much. Actually, I was thinking of what reminds me of her, and she actually reminds me of my old British friend. I haven't told her about this, but um, yeah, she was in Japan like a long, 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 long time ago, and um, well, she was much younger, but still, she hasn't changed much, even though she aged. I'm talking about my friend, and on the other hand, Erin Mullen, probably she's different, but the impression is very similar, and I just, it just came to my mind today about, what reminds me of, of uh, her, and, what reminds me of something that, when I watch Erin Mullen's YouTube clips. But, she was talking about the brutal rapes that occurred on October 7th. It's a little scary to, name what happened, what I saw, what the victims, we obviously see the victims taken as hostages, and also we obviously see a woman, thrown into a truck. Her backbone was broken, and she was taken. This Hamas was marching around in a pickup truck with her lifeless body. Everybody knows who she is now. And it has a problem, serious problem, of who took the photo of her. And I just feel it's not just feel sorry, but what happens if that incident, happens in, for example, in Japan? It's, like the other day, there was a teen girl who was stabbed to death in a fast food restaurant, for example. The perpetrator was captured, and he's saying, I didn't do it. But you know what? I'm not sure what he is exactly, but he does not have a job. Um, and I also cannot talk about one particular name who is in jail right now in UK, and everybody is talking about him. So I will just refrain from talking about his name. But in UK, these people, who rape young girls, like 9, 10, 11, or even younger, maybe, or women in general. They are systematically raped, and I have heard about the victims' cases for a very long time, and I just, I don't talk about this with my British friends, but I do. I mean, care about what is happening because, see, I don't know how many people have heard of what the religious, faith leaders of these mosques are, uploading on YouTube, saying, for example, these young girls, show off their skin and their clothings are inappropriate. It's like, what the are you? It's none of other people's business how the girls dress, and they're not supposed to attack women. I mean, raping is attacking women in a brutal way, in the worst possible way. It's vulgar, disgusting. You know what? It's terrible. And I just do not want to call out, by religion, but these religious leaders, who practice certain rules called, well, everybody knows it too. And I won't talk about it because of the problems that some people have. But in UK, these people are called grooming gangs. And you know what? These people really lock up girls in a room and rape and rape and rape over and over and over. And, how come, these victims must be silenced and they are the ones who get into trouble? And what? That means that what is going on, the whole thing going on? I mean, I have known people who have studied in the UK from Japan, but I have never talked about it. But it's so awful, and yeah, I didn't have to talk about it because he's not a woman. But oh my God, it's so terrible, and this particular religious group, if I say it, these people say, like, not all of us do it. Well, it's true, not all of us. But why do these faith leaders, it's supposed to be the faith leader, right? tell that, these women deserve the justice. Justice meaning rapes, by men, because, these women were dressed appropriate, was wearing skirt, did not cover. I mean, it's not in the Western culture or even Japan, South Korea, or maybe democratic nations, I have to say. But compared to 80s, probably the Western nations have changed so much in 90s. And I also heard a lot of anti-Semite statements. It's like brainwashing, people on the internet. They appear on the video and say, Israel deserved to disappear. October 7th was the justice. They baked cakes, celebrated, had parties. What is going on with this? This is insanity. Insane. And I'm sorry. I myself had real serious problem with on social media, actually, on Facebook, both Facebook and Twitter sometimes at the time. Well, now it's X, but I have less, and I don't have it anymore. But there were typically Muslim men, who wanted to marry me. I'm sorry, but it's just impossible. I mean, it's not, okay, it's not, and then I say like, no thank you. And then it is so persistent that I would be furious and just say like, go away. That's it. But you know what? These people who told me, to marry them were actually the problem that is happening in the UK. And I should probably refrain from talking about who they are. But like people like David Atherton, okay, he'll probably have a legal problem because of what he says. But I see his posts and on my timeline very often, and the rape cases that he discusses is not lie. I mean, maybe it maybe too, I don't know. Okay, I will not talk about how he explains, but there are victims of the grooming gangs. And I actually listened to the victim of the grooming gangs, and it's like she has such bad trauma in her heart. I just felt so sorry for what happened to her. And she is also silenced at some point. Like she, like somebody's trying to silence her. And also she's scared of the perpetrator because if he's released, he may come after her family, including her son. I just do not want to talk about a particular name here because it's so terrible and it's very disrespectful at some point because I have not contacted them personally. But I have I speak with people with mental issues sometimes, and I try not to be scary like to them. I mean, I try I just try to not be like make them feel comfortable, like in the best way I can. But it's I heard the British woman's story, and justice must be served, really, and these perpetrators must be arrested. And I'm sorry, but now probably I'm older and I'm a little, like maybe I don't know, like a little different from before. But I do have problems when I hear something about my outfits, like I don't like it so much. And in the first place, when I hear all these religious faith leaders talking about young girls, it's like so terrible to me. In a sense, like I take it personally as well because it's so disgusting. And is that the religion or is that jihadism? I think it's jihadism. And that's a radical Islamist that, like talking to people and brainwashing them to commit crimes against ordinary people. And I just think that these jihadists must be punished. And in some ways, if they, it's very strange in the first place why they are in the Western countries. But it's no wonder because they are there as the people who are the victims. And, but, they don't work. They don't do anything productive. And then they hurt people like that. I just wonder why the people of the nation cannot live safely. The government would say everybody is that, like whatever. But I just I just do not understand the Japanese actually narratives of some cases. It's very difficult for me to just, like whatever. In any guy's talk, I just cannot, I don't know what they're doing, really. But this rape cases, they lock up like in a hotel room, not just a hotel room. Not they don't just lure into a hotel room. They steal women and rape them. How do you feel if you were the victim? I mean, it is physically and mentally both terrible. And also, just going back to October 7th, it is more than 450 days since the hostages, women there, have been away from their family. And we have seen them having traces of being raped. And there are testimonies from the former hostages of what they went through. How do you feel? I mean, you cannot silence women and say, well, you're the victim, but you are an oppressor, and you have faults because of the way you dressed, or something like that. Or because you are an Israeli, you deserve to be raped. How do you feel if you listen to it? Okay, do you think it's a justice? I'm sorry, I just cannot understand all these people who talk about the resilience of Hamas even on the Japanese news network. And I know who they are, not she. But they have connections with Hamas. I started reading Israeli news in English a while ago. It's not since October 7th, but a long time ago, because it was quite interesting for me to read them, like the Jerusalem Post, the Times of Israel. It has been very interesting because it sounds very objective, and also it sounds very, third personal, like facts. Like I can get the exact information about Israel, and also other news that I really like, but I mainly read about politics there. But yeah, it's in English, so I like both of them, and I I've read it since October 7th. Amit Susana's story was out in the New York Times. Of course, I read it. It's truly heartbreaking, and I'm sorry that, if she ever hears this, I'm really sorry that, I call out her name. But what she went through was a nightmare. And also other women. And I wrote about this on my blog post, but these women speak out because, and including, women who witnessed the rapes, the brutal rapes that happened in certain moments on October 7th. It was so awful, and, as a woman, I believe it was such a painful moment for the women, and how, what was going on, really. It's not what was going on. We know what was going on. It's terrible. And Hamas burned a woman alive, laughing about it. Hamas raped women, shot her head and laughed, cheered, used messengers, sent pictures. I killed many Israelis. This is sick. This is not resilience. This is not resistance. And how come women's rights activists are so silent, including the UN women, about this? Yeah, maybe I will just say, sometimes only the victims can understand. Yeah, I will just take it that way. And I will say it that way for reasons. But I hope that, Japanese people do not have to believe in the media totally, but they need to understand the situation of Israel and how many victims there are from the terrorist attacks every year. And at the same time, they the Japanese media likes to write, the Israelis' occupation, Israelis, arrogant attitude. Well, they don't know Israelis in the first place, and they talk to Hamas. So please stop spreading disinformation. Anyone, I really hope. But there are once in a while people who comment on my social media, and I have conversations with various people every day, but there are kind words, and also sometimes once in a while I have to delete some. Really, I don't have to say why. But well, if Japan has open immigration system in the future, including towards the Chinese nationals, which cause one of the most rape cases in Japan, there will be grooming gangs in Japan in a different perspective. And it's very terrible. And it's not just about Japan, but it is not funny to laugh about the victims of rape of October 7th. Or talk about October 7th as if there were nothing. It's not just, I feel sorry for that, but. See, this but is not accepted. But anyway, I will refrain from further talking about this term grooming gangs, and also about the person in jail. Like Douglas Murray talked about it. David Atherton, of course, he did. He's a journalist. and others, who interviewed this man in jail right now. I don't think he's a terrorist, but, well, I'm sorry for what happened. Well, it sounds like it is a problem if, well, I'm not sure how much sentencing there would be, but in some cases it could be really bad, which is taking video clips of actually the people who don't want to be taken the video clips. Like when, for example, when I have problems, but here's the reality, and here's a contradiction at the same time of why they took pictures, and also why he took pictures, and he took video clips, because the woman, underage woman, will think that, well, like the police, some police might believe, well, that the underage girls were involved in inappropriate behaviors, and she is subject to some legal cases. But why is the perpetrator free? It's really, and the UN Women Amnesty, where are you? Nowhere. Yeah, and I really do not want to talk about who, asked for this, dating, marriage, like, well, whatever it looks like, appearance. When did you have your first, whatever. All these comments were insulting, and I was furious, but time has passed, and I'm much older now, and those were harmful words, but there are real victims, and I really hope that people understand in the UK and the West, in the Western countries, there are people, women, who are hurt terribly, meaning raped by certain groups of people systematically, because they own the property, or they use certain properties, obviously, and rape women systematically. And this is something very serious. And the victims don't have to feel ashamed, or don't have to feel scared. Should not, I mean. It's terrible. But I hope that these problems are resolved, really. It's terrible. And I pray every day that, and I will say this again over and over and over until the hostages come back. Israel and Israelis, families of the hostages, everyone wants the hostages back. Period. and I pray for it too. Okay. So I would like to end my podcast. Please follow me on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and other platforms. You can find me like on Amazon, for example, and also please download my podcast. I really want to reach 1,000. Okay, so anyway, if you if you could afford the kind donations from you to my homepage is very much appreciated. It is verified, really, account. I mean, it is connected to the verified account, and it's not a fraud or something. So, thank you very much. Good night.